Hello, my name is Frank Blaney and I'm a conflict resolution specialist. What I'd like to address today is where does conflict fit into our life? As humans, it's a natural part of experiencing life is experiencing conflict. It goes hand in hand with the human experience. And obviously this manifests itself in different levels. There can be conflict internally. There can be conflict within our homes or in our communities. Obviously there's a major amount of conflict going on globally. But there's some key points that kind of tie all these things together. One is that when you think of conflict, you need to realize that a lot of that comes from within our own selves. Conflict is something that happens when people start to interact, have disagreements about what's the right approach or the right thing to do. Now, it's very easy for us to assume in this competitive society that we live in that if there's a conflict of interest, there's going to be a loser and a winner. The first thing to do is eradicate that approach. There is no winner, there's no loser. There can always be two winners depending on how those people are communicating through these issues. A lot of times people, when they are faced with conflict, will retreat. They'll try and slip by it. Sometimes they'll amp up the level of conflict. They'll get angry and try and intimidate the other person. These are all things that we learn growing up in our homes, in our communities, seen even displayed on media. But the key thing to remember is that taking these aggressive approaches very rarely ever works in the long term. One of the key influences I had, besides my master's degree in negotiation, conflict resolution, and peace building, was being trained in Kingian nonviolence. Kingian nonviolence is based on the principles of Dr. King. And one of his quotes that really adds a lot of light to this whole issue of conflict resolution is the following: "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." So the important thing to remember is that when we start to take it to another level, that is counterproductive to resolving that conflict. It's going to aggravate the things. There's an African proverb that I often tell some of the young youth that I work with in the inner cities of Los Angeles. And that's this question that I approach them, and it's a statement also, is you can never kill your enemy. And so I'll be in a classroom and I'll say, what does that mean to you? That you can never kill your enemy. So if you think about that for a minute, if you kill someone, they have associations, they have cousins, they have brothers. Think about how this plays out on a global conflict with the Middle East crises, with a lot of the different global wars going on. We think that if we beat, quote unquote, or kill the enemy, that's going to somehow solve the problem. But there's always more people behind that one human being that was there. And another important thing, and just to kind of summarize this topic, is that 90% of finding a solution to conflict and conflict resolution comes from within. And there's another African proverb that I think is really important to consider. It says that if there is no enemy within, the enemies outside cannot harm you. So we need, as individuals, in trying to negotiate and navigate conflict, we need to realize that it's really about our perspective, seeing how what we're saying or doing is affecting the other parties involved, and trying to find a solution to it, which is nonviolent. That's the only way that you'll ever be able to permanently resolve conflict. Thank you for listening.